Hey everybody, and welcome back to Lindsey's Little Library. So today is BookList Thursday, and BookList Thursday is something I do with Sarah over at Sarah's Nightstand. We come to you every Thursday with some sort of book thoughts, ideas, recommendations, something bookish related. Okay, so today's topic, I'm not even sure where it came from, if it was an Instagram post I saw or a podcast or something, that people were talking about books that they wish they could reread for the first time again. And I was like, brilliant, that's an awesome BookList Thursday idea. So I stole it, fair and square. So this is not necessarily books we want to reread, although some I could reread, some not so much. These are books that we want to go back and experience again for the first time. And I know some of mine just have connections to some sort of change in my reading habits or reading history involved, and others they're there just because they're really good books and I just want to experience for that first time again. So I have 5 of them. So yeah, a couple old, couple new. None of them are borrowed and none of them have blue in them. So okay, that just took a weird turn. We're gonna just get started. First one I have is The Forgotten Garden by Kate Morton. This is where I really fell in love with the kind of dual timelines, multiple perspective type of a place in books, and got it outside of my comfort zone and really started reading some thicker books. So this one takes place, so we have 1913 and we kind of have present day. So we have the story of the girl in 1913 is a girl is abandoned on a ship headed for Australia. She arrives completely alone with nothing. I want to say small, she was 3, 4, small girl. So she's taken in by the dockmaster and his wife and basically raised as their own. On her 21st birthday, they tell her the truth of what happened, and she kind of shatters a little bit from there. She doesn't have much to go on as far as figuring out what her real identity is. So she goes on this quest and it leads her to Blackhurst Manor on the Cornish coast, and the secrets that are derived from that. Then we follow her great-granddaughter, Cassandra, as she's trying to piece together kind of some secrets tied to Nell. So that's where I kind of just fell in love with the way that was written, how it went back and forth. This is my discovery of Kate Morton and totally fell in love with her as an author. I could go back. I don't necessarily want to reread this book, but I could see myself, I crave that kind of new realization and finding a new writing style and a new kind of, not necessarily genre, but a new writing style that I really loved. So Forgotten Garden was really good, 5 stars. Next one we'll go with something I've read recently, and as soon as I closed the book, I was like, I just want to do that again. Again, not necessarily rereading, but just having that amazing reading experience, and that is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. This book is a work of art. It is a work of art. It is beautiful, and I want to experience again for the first time, and I never thought I would like something like this, and so I'm super happy I opened my eyes and just gave it a chance. So Addie LaRue makes a deal with he's not necessarily the devil, but he's a god that comes out at night, so not a great guy. But she wants out of her pretty mundane life. She's a young woman in the 1700s. She's expected to get married, settle down, and support the family, and she doesn't want that. She wants adventure. So her very best friend tells her about different gods and how to kind of wish for and pray for things, and gave her a warning to don't ever pray to the gods who come out at night, and she accidentally prays to the gods who come out at night and takes this deal where she's allowed to live forever. She can get out of whatever kind of commitment she was put into, but no one's gonna remember her ever. So she lives for 300 years and then somebody remembers her, and it's just so beautiful. It's so beautiful. So many lines in here that just makes you go, oh, it's amazing. So love that book. Next one I want to talk about is 5 People You Meet in Heaven by Mitch. I still think about this book. He is a author for me that gives me these little itty bitty books that normally I probably wouldn't have picked up, but I walk away with such a epiphany of either thought or growth, or he makes you think. He so makes you think. And Five People We Meet in Heaven was the first one I read by him. I've read Tuesdays with Morrie. There's another one I read. I can't think of it, but anytime I pick up his books, amazing. And I have reread this book. Still not the same as that first like introduction into this. And it's glorious. And so this is literally as you can read it. It's about the 5 people that you meet in heaven. So Addie, let's see. Addie is a grizzled war veteran who feels trapped in a meaningless life of fixed rules at a seaside amusement park. As the park has changed over the years from the loop-the-loop to the pipeline plunge, so too has Addie changed from optimistic youth to embittered old age. His days are a dull routine of work, loneliness, and regret, and on his 83rd birthday, Addie dies in a tragic accident trying to save a little girl from a falling cart. With his final breath, he feels 2 small hands in his, and then nothing. He awakens in the afterlife where he learns that heaven is not a lush garden of Eden, but a place where your earthly life is explained to you by 5 people who were in it. These people may have been loved ones or distant strangers, yet each of them changed your path forever. So powerful. So much power in one little itty bitty book. It's crazy. And then these last 2 are really more from kind of my childhood, and I would say kind of shaped the reader that I have become from my childhood. So we'll start with the early one. So this is Just as Long as We're Together by Judy Blume. This would be kind of my first, I guess, taste of a YA, because kind of getting out of that middle grade reading experience and kind of getting into more books that hit home to me. So this is about some girls in 7th grade. I was in 7th grade when I read this book. It talks about their friendship. It talks about boys. I still remember being like just as boy crazy as they were in this book. So rereading this book now is not going to be the same as 7th grade Lindsey, the dork that she was, wishing she could be a part of this girl gang that this book is about. Kind of sad now that I'm thinking about it, but I really, really enjoyed this book. I want to say I probably read it 3 times in that year. I reread it so much and loved this book. So the nostalgia of connecting at that level when I'm that same age and kind of seeing yourself within that book was, I mean, it just was perfect. It hit home. It was fantastic. Even though it was written in 1987, I was probably reading it in 94, 95. I mean, it still worked. It worked. Knowing that now that I'm thinking of it, like 1987 copyright, I would be curious to reread this and see what a difference it might have. That might be a video. I don't know. That could be interesting. Might be a fun vlog. Because 7th grade Lindsey is like still inside here and still like, oh my God, it's the best book ever. Whereas like almost 40 Lindsey is probably like, seriously. And last one I want to talk about, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Throne. I picked this up, and this was my first taste of fantasy and my first taste of kind of immersing yourself into such a fun and cool world, and yet growing up with these books at the same time. So I want to say I picked this up. When was this published? That might tell me, because I feel like it was fairly new. So 97. Yeah, I was fairly, because I probably read this in 98, 99, 98. I remember I was in Dr. Hutchinson's English class. I could tell you where I sat. I could tell you who I sat by. I could tell you who else was in my class. I don't know. I think, was Matt in my class? If you didn't know, my husband and I did go to high school together. We did not date. Well, we dated for like a week in high school and I dumped him, which don't worry, he never lets me like live that down. But we didn't get back together till afterwards. So I don't know if he was in my class or not. Anyway, so I remember, like, I clearly remember that because I remember reading this book. This was one of the ones that he had suggested on his list, and I honestly picked it up because it was the shortest one. That's why I chose it, because, you know, this girl had definitely grown up since 7th grade Lindsey, and I now had a social calendar that I needed to keep up to date with, and a big long book was going to get in my way. But so I picked it because it was the shortest, and I ended up falling in love, and this is like one of my favorite books and favorite series of all time. Always will be. So to go back to that and read it, and I have read it since then. My kids and I read this book. obviously, but that first time of going through and discovering this really cool world and just immersing yourself in it, even though I'm a junior in high school at the time, was just super, super fun. So now that you have a little history lesson of Lindsey and some of the books that I just wish I could go back and reread for the first time again, really only one of these is on like my overall all-time best books of all time list, but they still just hold that special little piece or special little memory that I love. So love to go back and read them again for the first time. Make sure you head over to Sarah's channel and see what she has for us today for BookList Thursday. Otherwise, like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you again next time. Bye.